Welcome back to Double Tap, and today we're talking all about My Sound Cinema. Now, this is a new service that's just launched at the tail end of last month, and Elena Zini, I beg your pardon, is on the line with me. Now, I just asked you to get if I got your name right, and there I get it wrong. That's just so typical. Elena, how are you? Thank you for coming on to Double Tap.
Hi, I'm great, thank you.
So, My Sound Cinema is, as it says online, is one of these first online cinemas that really puts audio description at the heart of what it does. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about that and what that actually means? Because it sounds very interesting.
Yes, so it's a VOD platform, or cinema. So it's similar in a way to your Netflix or Amazon Prime, where you go online and you click on a film that you would like to watch, and the film starts. You'll have to pay a ticket for it. And the main difference is that the films will all have audio description on them, so there is no opt-in or opt-out. So yeah, as soon as you press play, it will start with audio description, and also the whole platform has been built trying to optimize as much as possible for screen readers to make all the text as legible and as big as possible. So the whole experience should be really as accessible as we possibly could achieve with our limited budget and resources.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I mean, obviously setting something like this up, I can't imagine is the cheapest of things to do. What's the process? Who's behind this?
So behind it, it's basically a team of 3 people at the moment, but the idea is mostly mine. And so I've been working in accessibility for around 10 years. And one of the main strands I founded a company called Screen Language. And one of the main strengths that we do is audio description. So we only work with film and media and lots of independent and documentaries. Basically, we really love the materials we work with. My former background was in translation, so audio description was for me like a form of translation. And it came to realize that first there was a huge need for audio description, and secondly, that many of the films that we were working with, we were producing these beautiful audio descriptions, putting all our heart and soul into it, but then they weren't being used as much as we would have liked. Both festivals and cinemas struggled to use them. People didn't know whether the audio description would be available. And even when cinemas went online during the pandemic, it looked like the platforms couldn't really handle audio descriptions, or some platforms were not accessible enough. People just didn't know these films were there, especially for those films who were just a tiny bit more niche, but nevertheless really deserved to be heard and seen. So it was mainly out of this kind of frustration from a provider perspective of why are we doing this, and people are spending money and investing in creating the audio description if then they're not being used. And perhaps if these were used more, people would produce more of them, it would be like a sort of virtuous circle. So that was only my idea. So clearly, because I am not vision impaired myself, then I went to RNIB, and we created a survey, and we asked people what they actually thought, which was the first step. And that took a while actually to make sure that is this a good idea? And the RNIB were really supportive of it. Sites Scotland were behind us. And the responses in surveys and social media were astounding, were amazing. So that really pushed the whole project to the next stage of actually getting more funding to starting the work on it. So it's all been funded with small pots of money here and there, mostly Innovate UK, which is like a creator of, a supporter of innovation, and then Film Hub Scotland and The Space, who are an art. They had a funding for accessing the arts, which allowed us to put together a steering group, which has 6 blind and vision impaired members who have guided the whole process, and one main consultant who's completely blind and who's also an experienced consultant. But all of the members are really incredible. They come from different backgrounds, but lots of consulting with ADA, with Sight Scotland, with RNIB, and so it's been really a fantastic process. It also allowed us to get a lot more feedback on the work we're doing, and especially on this project. So it's become a collective work, which was great. And then now it's almost it's there, it's alive. It's been like 3 years in the making. So
wow, that's
it's
a long
exciting.
time. That's a long time to get to this point. And clearly a lot of work has gone into it. And as you say, you know, that working with the community, blind and partially sighted people, is key, right? But I want to go back to your point earlier about the pandemic. And really that was the first time that we started to see this shift. Well, we had to see a shift to cinema online. I mean, it was kind of starting to happen. We were starting to see home movie rentals appearing in some places, like on Amazon Prime or even on iTunes. You would go in, you would find a movie that was out in the cinema, and you could actually watch it there. But sometimes it wasn't always at the same time as cinema release. So you'd maybe have a few weeks, whereas the pandemic, of course, closed everything down, and that meant that we had to all stay at home, and that was why we would start watching cinema releases. I think at the time, if you remember, it was like Tenet was the only one you could watch. That was about it, really. That was the kind of latest. That was the only one that was out. And again, there was that question mark over, okay, are we going to get audio description? But I've got to say, just going back a little bit, and just going, you know, back before the pandemic and thinking about what cinema experiences were like then. You know, around the world, I don't know what I mean, people will tell me, people will get in touch and tell us their experience from around the world. But, you know, in the UK, access to audio described movies in cinemas isn't a perfect experience either. So you would go in and you might get the headset and you'd hope that it worked. And then, you know, you might have to, I remember once having to watch a movie by turning my head to the side so that the RF could pick up, you know, the frequency could actually pick up on the headset. It wouldn't work if I was staring straight at the screen. I had to turn my head to the left. So, you know, these kind of things were going on. And that's if the film even had audio description. So, you know, it was not a perfect world to start with. Is there a sense from you that actually making more of this online means that we might actually see more access to more movies or more audio description on movies online?
Yes, I mean, the idea is, hopefully we are huge fans of cinemas, and we believe that, you know, the cinema experience in person cannot be replaced by anything else. On the other hand, we've heard so many of these complaints that you're speaking about, of headsets not working, of people going to a cinema and then the audio description is not actually available, or the batteries are low, or, you know, people struggle to make it to the cinema. So everyone has an option to go to the cinema or to watch things online. And it can be more difficult maybe for some people to make it to the cinema if they are vision impaired. So I just, you know, believe that everyone should have that option. On the other hand, we do hope that by having a place for audio described film to be and to be more visible, and to hopefully even bring a community together around it, we will make it more, you know, we will support audio description in general, which means hopefully we'll get people in general will get more funding, and the quality of audio description in general will go higher. It just seems that audio description has been a little bit left behind in comparison to maybe captions, that people now, there's a lot of talking about captions online and on social media, but not everyone knows what audio description is yet, which seems crazy, but it should, you know, I think this should change.
Definitely.
So
absolutely.
Hopefully this would be like a platform to allow a bit of a debate and a bit of a, you know, bringing people together that love audio description, getting people who don't know what it is to know what it is. And yes, and promote and bring it forward. And also hopefully we can use it to experiment with audio description, because there are things that people have thought of doing, like audio introductions, or people have tried, you know, the actors introducing or describing themselves, or filmmakers. You know, we can have live events as well. It's not going to be from the very beginning, but hopefully we can do it soon.
Because you've got a whole platform, right? You can do anything you want on that platform.
Exactly. That's a great thing. Like, it's all about audio description, so we don't have to negotiate with anything else. And on the other hand, we are using some resources that are not being used. So we're not really competing against, even Curzon or, BFI, or we just want to use things that are just sitting there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk to you about content and specifically what we will see on My Sound Cinema, and also how available this is going to be. We'll get to all that in a minute, though, because I want to turn to your point earlier about the consultation you had with the community over the last 3 years and working with the visual impairment community. And you've made a short video about this. I want to play it in. It's about 3 minutes long, but I want to play this because it gives you a sense, it gives all of us, I think, a sense of how the community feel about audio description, the need for it, and how a service like this could actually help.
Click play. Vibrating audio lines morph to become the face of a contented listener. My Sound Cinema. Text on screen. The first ever audio-described online cinema.
I do enjoy it when there's audio description available. I like the whole experience. But what's difficult is when audio description isn't available, it does put me off. And I'll be honest, I haven't been to the cinema since before the pandemic.
I love using audio description. Some films don't need it as much as others, but when it is needed, boy, does it make a difference and really enhance the enjoyment of it.
I do encounter a lot of issues at cinemas. I encounter a lot of audio description that is scheduled and it's not available on that actual film, even though it's scheduled. I have problems with headsets where they don't work.
Accessible, reliable, your go-to place for audio-described cinema online.
People have this idea, right, that audio description is just for people who can't see anything at all. But you think you still find it useful, or that you can see quite a bit?
Yeah, I can see a wee bit, but only if I grab a prop. Literally, I can only see something if my face is this close to the screen. It's about less than a hand span away from my face, and this is how I normally watch something.
With me having some residual vision, I can sit as close as I would need to try and get some of the visuals. They could have arthritis, many reasons that they're not really able to get to the cinema over and above their visual impairment. So that would be great for them. The other group I think we really need to mention is those with dual sensory loss. So people that are hard of hearing and visually impaired.
For visually impaired and blind audiences, for people with mobility issues, for those who need captions alongside audio description, for everyone to enjoy audio description.
I'm thinking now the other side as well, the promotional side of getting more filmmakers to recognise the importance of audio description and to kind of come on board and be willing to show their films and want their films to be described and be part of an exciting service and get a new audience for their films.
I think one of the most important things for me is creating awareness from a general point of view, not just saying we need to target this at the visually impaired community. It needs to be targeted at everybody.
Audio description is independence. It's the ability to go and watch a movie and not keep nudging your neighbour or the person sitting next to you, say, what's happening? For me, it boils down to two things, flexibility and choice.
Coming soon, live online from September 2022. mysoundcinema.com. Funded by Creative Informatics, Innovate UK and The Space, supported by Film Hub Scotland, part of the BFI's Film Audience Network, and funded by Screen Scotland and National Lottery funding from the BFI.
Just really interesting to hear people's takes on that. And I have to say, for full disclosure, one of those people there was my wife. My wife was involved in this, Marie. And
she's great.
She's been a big part of it from Sight Scotland, her organisation that she works for. And, it's just been really interesting hearing her talk about it, which is how I found out about it. Let's talk a little bit about the content that is going to be on this platform. What kind of content are we likely to see and hear?
So we are focusing on, so we have asked obviously the steering group what they thought would be interesting for them, and surprise, there's so many different opinions because people like different films, and there's nothing we can do about it. So the idea is to have as diverse a range of titles as we can. We obviously we are negotiating now with all the distributors, and hopefully we'll get a sort of avalanche effect that the more distributors come on board, the more the bigger ones decide to join. So it's clearly, because also we come from sort of a more independent film background, it's been easier so far to negotiate with independent distributors, but nevertheless we do have some bigger titles like Anna and the Apocalypse or Boiling Point or Benediction. And they are big. Maybe not everyone knows about them, but they are fantastic films, and they're all films we really believe in. We do try to focus on diversity and having a variety of genres and representation, of having equality, diversity, and inclusion at the heart of the programming of the film of the cinema as well. So it will be hopefully a platform where people get to experience films that they can't find in other places. The idea is also that if the titles are widely available on Netflix and Amazon, then maybe there's no some people manage to get audio description through those platforms. So maybe we should try and support those other films that don't actually reach the audience as easily as those films. So
that's the point, really, isn't it? That's quite important. I often think about classic movies, older movies, movies that we don't get, as easily with audio description. And, sometimes actually just having access to the content. Look, it's about having access to more. I think you'd be probably doing it wrong if you were just chasing the same content that's already out there. I think the way you're doing it makes a lot of sense to me, that you're actually going for content that isn't anywhere else at the moment. That's what will draw people to the service.
Exactly, and we have been thinking of, whether if people want opera, with the description, or theater, or black and white films, or rather than manga or family. We've heard all sorts of input. So, hopefully we can kind of go with audience feedback and also with whatever is also available. Having a place for everything that's available out there and doesn't have a home online that's easy to find.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I'm so intrigued by this. Now, obviously, a lot of our audience are in Canada. That's where our show is based. But we have an international audience. And one thing I was very keen to do this season of Double Tap was really expand out into international stories. And this is where this really came to interest to me, was the fact that this is coming out of Scotland, but it is in fact UK wide, and it's also worldwide, is it?
So the territory negotiation is a little tricky. So at the start we've had to limit our territory to the UK for now. Obviously, then it's it's not a pilot. I mean, hopefully it all works fine here. And if it does, we can extend. We do need to renegotiate all the rights with all the rights holders. The other thing I'd like to point out is, obviously, hopefully it's obvious, but this is entirely legal. Because I know that there's been several.
That, right?
I know people have tried to put all the descriptions together online and spread them and access them, which it's great for the people who want to access them, and it's a shame that there's no other way. But the idea of this project is we are working in collaboration with the film industry, not in some sort of illegal dark side of the internet sort of thing, which also allows us to advertise this publicly and make sure that it reaches out to as many people as possible, and hopefully also get support by the film industry as well, as they have been supported already. So hopefully it all works out and we can launch worldwide soon.
I do remember a similar project in Canada years ago called Tell Me TV, which I think had possibly one of the best taglines. Because it was a similar idea. It was a project aiming to bring audio described content to Canadian viewers, and the tagline of the project was "They kiss, we tell." which I thought was
Nice.
brilliant. So clever.
That's catchy.
Yeah. So I think that project may have gone to the side. I haven't heard much about it. If someone wants to tell me otherwise, I'm sure they will. But from my understanding, it's no more. Do you have international ambitions for this? Do you want it to be able to be available to people worldwide?
Yes, I mean, I don't see why not. And it would make it even more accessible and universal. You know, we also, when we're talking to like the RNIB came out, that there is a huge demand for Bollywood movies, for example, to have audio description. You know, I'm sure there's huge pockets of needs and unmet needs all around the world. So
that's true.
We'd love this to grow as much as it can.
Kind of don't think about that, don't you? But we're so used to in the West, we just get used to what we get, and we're expecting, I guess, because Hollywood makes all the movies, we kind of start there. But you're absolutely right. There's Bollywood, and there's probably untold genres of movies and TV shows that just never get even thought about, never mind considered for audio description. So that's very interesting.
We also have quite a few foreign films already on the platform, which I hear from the Steering Group, at least they were like quite surprised, because it doesn't seem to happen very often that you get audio described foreign films. So they all have audio subtitles, obviously, which in some cases are voiced by the same voice actor, or there's two voice actors for them. When we make them, we make them with two different voice actors to help people tell them apart. But hopefully this is also a good news that, you know, if people couldn't really reach foreign films before, or it'd be a nice new thing.
So not available to our Canadian audience, sadly, but if you're in the UK listening to this, you can. So how can people get the service? Do you have to sign up? Does it cost money?
Yes, so you pay a ticket for each film. So you just pay each time you watch a film. The ticket price is agreed with the distributor, and it's normally very similar to what you would pay in any other online cinema, or even in the cinema. So it's between in pounds, it's between $5.99 and $11.99. So
that's a standard ticket price. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's normal, and obviously it reflects the fact that there is a lot of work behind this, and we are, you know, making this all for a specific target audience. So hopefully people are understanding that we're not gonna have immediately like a very low cost subscription model, which, you know, maybe if we become bigger, it's something we would be looking at, especially so that it's easier for people to sort of check out. You know, if they only have a monthly subscription, they can forget about it. In our case, you do have to pay each time you watch a film. It's fairly straightforward, and so far the Steering Group and the testers have all managed. But I'd like to reiterate over and over that it's, you know, we're doing as best that we can, but we'd love any feedback, any constructive feedback, and we hope people will be, you know, patient. If there are some little, things that can be improved, we'll be on it, and we'll try and do it as well and as fast as we can. We're also working with a platform that, because we couldn't like build a whole platform from scratch the way we wanted it, we're working with a sort of third-party platform who are very lovely and responsive and interested in accessibility. They're called Eventive. They're actually US-based. So they've been super collaborative, but that means, it's, you know, it's a process. But hopefully we can, hopefully it works. And it seems to be working so far.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly pass on the feedback. Yes. People who get in touch from here.
Exactly. Just let us know. Any thoughts, any feedback, any criticism, maybe send them privately to me.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you've got to start somewhere. And the fact is that, you know, I applaud you for, you know, making the effort, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's about raising awareness, if nothing else. And, you know, we have to make people aware that audio description is a key part of the enjoyment of a film. I would not watch, my wife and I wouldn't watch a movie if it doesn't have AD. It just isn't going to happen because we will miss too much out of it. And AD adds so much. So, yeah, it's great. Sounds really interesting. So for listeners in the UK, check it out, mysoundcinema.com. That is the place to find it. Elena Zini, thank you so much for coming on to Double Tap and telling us all about My Sound Cinema.
Thanks, Stephen. It was lovely to talk.
Lovely to have you on. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for being with us. We're back again tomorrow. Thank you for listening.
Love Double Tap? Did you know we're on the TV too? Check out brand new episodes of Double Tap TV on AMI TV every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Or binge on all episodes online at ami.ca/Double Tap. We're also on YouTube. Search for Double Tap to catch our episodes there too.